And today I'm going to inform you about the current conservation status on endangered raptors in Japan on behalf of Takehiko Inoue-san. This is today's topic from Japan. And first topic is conservation project of golden eagle. The project target area is from Hokkaido to Kyushu. And second topic is International Summit on Grey-faced Buzzard held in Miyakojima Island. It's located in southern tip of Nansei Island. And third topic is a large-scale survey on wintering Grey-faced Buzzard on Amami Oshima Island. And fourth topic is current conservation situation on Blackstone fish owl. They live in eastern Hokkaido. And the last topic is current conservation situation on white-tailed eagle and Stellar's eagle. All these species are endangered species, endangered raptors in Japan. And first about golden eagle. These figures show the current status of the golden eagle in Japan. The red figure shows the distribution map of the eagle. The red square are the confirmed inhabitation areas. The red area is limited around the northern Honshu and central Honshu. And the population size of the eagle in Japan decreased from 650 in 2004 to 550 in 2014. And the right figure shows the breeding success rate and the number of fledglings. The line chart indicates the breeding success rate has dropped sharply from 55% in 1981 to 11% in 2015. Based on this situation, golden eagle is categorized as endangered species on Red List of Japan. And the eagle is designated as endangered species on the law for the conservation of the wildlife. Therefore, since 1996, the conservation and breeding projects have been implemented by the government organization. However, there was no tangible goals. It's difficult to evaluate the effect of the several efforts of the project. So in July 2021, the Ministry of the Environment decided to set out the specific numerical goals to develop an effective approach towards the conservation of golden eagles. Yamazaki-san and Inoue-san are the committee members of the project. To set out the specific numerical goals, at first, the Ministry of Environment has conducted two analyses. The one is habitat suitability analysis throughout Japan, and the other one is population viability analysis. And the Ministry of the Environment decided two numerical targets. The one is the number of pairs, and the other one is breeding rate. 206 pairs and 36.17% breeding success rate are the target number. The number are required to be stable inhabitation of the golden eagle in the future. Furthermore, the Ministry of Environment has decided candidate site for promoting habitat improvement based on first distribution of the eagle, their habitat, current vegetation, and so on. And now, several efforts are planned to achieve these goals. For example, improvement of foraging habitat, and rising awareness to related forest managers of eagle homelands, and conservation of ecosystem and improvement of biodiversity, and consideration of the introduction. That's golden eagle situation in Japan. And next topic is in the International Summit on Gray-faced buzzard. Gray-faced buzzard was common summer visitor in Japan before, but the population is decreasing rapidly in recent years. So this bird was categorized as vulnerable species on Red List of Japan in 2006. And in October 2021, Nature Conservation Society of Japan and other organizations, including ARRCN, held the second international summit on gray-faced buzzard on Miyakojima Island. The Miyakojima is an important stopover point for the migration of gray-faced buzzard. Gray-faced buzzard visit Japan for breeding from Honshu to Kyushu, and they migrate to Taiwan and Philippines and other Asian countries for wintering through Nansei Shoto, including Miyakojima. Therefore, to conserve migratory raptors like gray-faced buzzard, breeding site and migratory site and wintering site should work together. So on this summit, headquarters of Kentin National Park in Taiwan and the city mayor of Sanchez Mira in the Philippines participate. This figure shows the migrating numbers of gray-faced buzzard on Miyakojima Island. The number has clearly decreased in recent years. In order to conserve the gray-faced buzzard, effort in certain area is not surely enough. Cooperative effort in breeding site, stopover site, and wintering site are more necessary. On the summit, the harvest result and conservation efforts were reported from Japan and Taiwan and Philippines. At the end of the summit, Miyakojima Declaration was issued. The outline of the Miyakojima Declaration is participating cities recognize the importance of conservation effort in international cooperation and collaboration, and participating cities promote the development of the agriculture, forestry, commerce, and ecotourism in local ecosystem to maintain the rich biodiversity. Next topic is also about gray-faced buzzard. In November 2021, volunteers from all over Japan gathered on Amami Oshima Island in Nansei Shoto. The island is wintering site of gray-faced buzzard. Survey was conducted for 3 days with 56 participants on the island with an area of 712 square kilometers. The aim of the survey are to figure out the wintering population size and to understand the wintering habitat. Survey were conducted by line transect method on 2-kilometer route at one location. Total survey location number was 156. As a result, 1,002 individuals were observed in total 156 route sampling survey. The total number of overwintering individuals on the Amami Oshima Island were estimated to be 2,200. Next winter, we will conduct a survey again by improving method with the local people, including the children. And in addition, we observe one very rare blue chisholm gray-faced buzzard. Next up is the most endangered and the largest owl in Japan, black stonefish owl habit just in eastern Hokkaido. The population is estimated to be only 165. They catch mainly fish and in rivers and lakes. The factors of threat to their survival were decrease of habitat, loss of nesting trees, and reduction of food resources in the past. In recent years, in addition, human disturbance, such as invasion into the habitat, accidents relating to the fishing net and traffic are increasing. The conservation efforts for the black stonefish owl have been conducted continuously since 1984. In recent years, feeding and installing nest box to improve the habitat and release of birds for the introduction and effort to prevent traffic accidents have been implemented. Next topic is endangered two-sea eagle in Japan. The first bird is white-tailed eagle. 700 to 900 individuals have overwintered, mainly in Hokkaido. The number of nesting sites in Hokkaido has been increasing since 1990s. About 170 nesting sites have been confirmed at that time, but their reproductive performance has considerably deteriorated now. And second eagle is famous and beautiful stealth eagle. They also overwintered mainly in Hokkaido. Wintering population in Japan is estimated 1,400 to 1,700. And the main factors that to the survival are collision accident with wind power generation facilities and trains, and lead poisoning due to foraging shot dead deer, and reduction of nesting forest, roosting forest, and reduction of food resources. The most important conservation effort of these species are to the ban of the use of lead bullet for hunting in Hokkaido in 2000 to prevent the lead poisoning. In addition, several conservation efforts have been conducted in recent years, such as a survey for the overwintering population and food resources and behavior surveys with GPS loggers. And the crucial Marsh Wild Conservation Center has a key role to conserve these eagles. They treat and rehabilitate injured individuals, and they investigate the cause of collision accident and consider the countermeasures against the accident. And that's all. Thank you for your kind attention. See this picture, the beautiful scenery in mountainous area in Japan. But unfortunately, it's very rare occasion now. However, if we do what we do for raptors in each country right now, I believe that in the near future, golden eagle and other raptors could be removed from endangered species on the red data book. And I believe that in the future, in the near future, these peaceful scenery, pair of golden eagle flying together, could happen very commonly in mountainous area in Japan. And I hope that I could pick you up at the Kansai airport to show you these golden eagle very soon. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kim-chan-san.
Thank you, Murate-san, for that interesting and wide-ranging coverage on the status of raptors in Japan. We have some time for Q&A. So if there's anybody that would like to ask Murate-san any questions? If there are no questions, we will move on to the next presenter. I would like to invite Kyu Kim to present the country report for Korea. Kyu Kim, are you ready, please?
Yes, I think I am. Can you see my screen?
You.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. Hi, everyone. It is very good to be back at ARRCN in a few years. On behalf of colleagues here, Dr. Yu-Sung Choi, Wee-Heng Her, Seung-Gu Kang, and Professor Chang-Yong Choi in Korea, I will give a brief summary of recent raptor research and conservation work in South Korea. I am right now in US working as a postdoc in University of Wisconsin-Madison in Wisconsin. So to summarize recent research activities, I conducted a short literature review for the last 5 years for both peer-reviewed and graduate theses. And I'll introduce you. I can and introduce you a new fall raptor migration monitoring scheme in South Korea. Also, there is one collaborative project on Chinese sparrowhawks that I'll introduce to you shortly. Before we start, I guess I have to give a short introduction about South Korea. I'm sure all you know, but Korea is located in the northern portion of the flyway in East Asia. And there are about 20 regularly breeding raptor species and 29 or 30 non-breeding species that only occur during migration season or during the winter. Korea holds some good population of breeding migratory raptors like gray-faced buzzard, Eurasian hobby and Oriental honey buzzard, but also hosts the wintering birds from the north, Mongolia, China, and Russia, like the cinereous vultures. And there are some truly sedentary species like this tawny owl that breeds in the Korean forest. So I did a quick literature search of peer-reviewed publications in raptor biology in Korea. I used Google Scholar and Korean Journal of Ornithology database with a set of keywords and for the Google Scholar list, Google Scholar search, and a complete search of issues of Korean Journal of Ornithology, because there's only a few hundred. And I also searched graduate research from the Ministry of Education's database for graduate theses and dissertations with the same keywords. From the search, there were several thousand that showed up. I only found 30 relevant articles on raptor research in South Korea, and I classified them into a general field of research. Most common field of study was natural history, which was almost 1/3, 9, followed by veterinary science and behavioral studies, and genome research, evolutionary genetics, toxicology, art and culture, and so on. Most of the natural history research were on reports of new species or subspecies recorded in Korea. So those are country first reports, like this black baza recorded in 2019. Other interesting studies were on a commensalism of raptor nest breeding beetles in Chinese sparrowhawk nests that have a similar cycle to the breeding cycle of Chinese sparrowhawks, as shown here. And a new molt study on Japanese sparrowhawks that showed irregular molt that doesn't start from P1 as other exhibitors regularly do. The next common research was on veterinary science and ecotoxicology, which were mostly contributed by veterinarians and rehabilitators at wildlife rescue centers. And the toxicology studies are from using a lot of specimens coming from these rescue centers. And there's to introduce some interesting examples. One is here showing reporting lead levels and lead concentration in tissues of cinereous vulture carcasses found in Korea. And they show that the higher levels are mostly shown in the early winter, especially in November when they arrive in both liver and kidney. So they actually suggested that they might be more encountering these dead birds from lead poisoning that had consumed lead-loaded carcass outside Korea before arriving. The second study example here is a case study of an individual northern goshawk that was treated non-invasively for a fracture and released successfully with a soft release method, being fed after releasing, and then actually resighted after a year at a location of capture, its first rescue. The third common field of research was behavioral ecology, including interesting behavioral observations like this broken wing display of Eurasian eagle owl around the nest, like little shorebirds on the ground do, or the night hawks do. And tracking studies like this one on cinereous vultures done by Richard Reading and colleagues in Mongolia and Korea. That showed a strong connectivity from Mongolia to Korea, and also age differences in migration strategy in cinereous vultures that breed in Mongolia. There were 9 theses or dissertations submitted in 2017 to 2021. 3 of them were on breeding ecology and natural history of raptors, especially tawny owl, oriental scops owl, and Eurasian kestrel, each of one each. And they were all PhD students. And there were 3 veterinary study. One was PhD study, and another 2 was masters, and 3 in art and history and cultural value of falconry in Korea. So there were no ecology studies for master's degree, basically in 5 years in South Korea. Next, I will introduce you to the new center, the National Migratory Bird Center, a new organization established by the Ministry of Environment under National Institute of Biological Resources. And it was opened in 2019 at Socheongdo, a small island at northwest corner of South Korea. They built a new fancy building, and there are staff and residents that work and do monitoring year-round. And they started raptor fall migration monitoring since 2019. They also did a preliminary study in 2009, but the regular annual monitoring started in 2019. They do approximately once in 2 days in September to October, and basically due to I don't think they can do every day due to lack of staffing. And in 2021, last year, they counted the largest number since, although it's been only 3 years, which is more than 10,500 birds, and mostly composed by oriental honey buzzards, up to 80%. And they saw 17 species. Following oriental honey buzzards were eastern buzzard, Eurasian hobby, peregrine and falcon, northern goshawk, Eurasian sparrowhawk and black kites, and so on. So the direction of movements they observed is from Korean Peninsula to China, Shandong Peninsula, and across Yellow Sea. So the location of the center is right here. Actually, it is above the terrestrial DMZ. It's actually one of the northernmost islands that actually faces North Korea directly, and between these two peninsulas, this is one of the shortest cross once they enter Korean Peninsula. And given extensive tracking study from Japanese population of rodent honey buzzards from Dr. Higuchi and Tsugasawa's, there's only a few individuals crossing this route in fall. And this may be reflecting that the birds showing up in this station are from a continental population, and maybe this is an important migration bottleneck site for monitoring oriental honey buzzards that breeds in the continental Northeast Asia. That's my thought. And the last news is that there was a collaborative field project done between Taiwanese group, Dr. Tsai's group, and Dr. Jang Yong Choi and Hyun Young Nam. They tagged Chinese sparrowhawks in Korea in 2019, I believe. And there will be a talk by Dr. Tsai tomorrow at noon, so please stay tuned on the talk. I don't have authority to talk. I don't know much about the project actually, so I'm also looking forward to hear about it. And that's it. So in summary, most of the research done in Korea in the past 5 years were on short notes on natural history or clinical case studies on rescued raptors. There is really a lack of population level studies on trends, dynamics, and distributions of most raptor species. And there's a new migratory bird center that was established a couple of years ago, and it gives us some promising future for better monitoring of raptor population and migration in South Korea. And lastly, collaborations from ARRCN connections are going on, and I think that's one big achievement that we have between colleagues from different countries working on a long-distance migratory raptor, the Chinese sparrowhawk, that we got from ARRCN's connections. So maybe a little short, but this is all. And thank you for listening these updates. And I'm happy to answer any questions from the floor. And please let me know if you need any access to these literatures or wish to contact any of the co-authors or people in Korea. That's probably all I can do. So that's it. Kim Chai?
Okay, thank you, Kim, for that brief but interesting report from Korea. Just we have a lot of time. We have about 8 minutes. So any questions for Kyu Kim from the floor, from the audience?
Hello.
Yes, Dr. Ashok Verma, yes. Please go on.
Yeah, good morning. This is very nice work we have been hearing. I just want to know, harriers, what is the status of harriers in South Korea? And is there any migration going on? So if they know any studies, please.
First of all, there are very few monitoring schemes in Korea, unfortunately. We have 4 species of harriers in South Korea: Eastern Marsh Harrier, Pied Harrier, Hen Harrier, and I think very occasional Western Marsh Harrier. But it's not really formally recorded. But anyway, the hen harriers winter in South Korea and doesn't breed. Marsh harriers also show up in winter and doesn't breed. But the pine harrier, there are very rare breeding records in basically near DMZ and in north of South Korea. But it is very small, so a handful of records. But there are some individuals migrate through the pine harrier. There are some individuals migrate through Korea, but doesn't winter in South Korea. So I think there's only 2 species that's winter.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. I hope that answered.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the audience? Thank you, Kim.
Oh, excuse me, can I ask?
Yes.
Yes.
Kia Nakajima-san. Please
Okay,
go
thank you so
ahead.
much. Thank you for your country report. And I have one question. And how is the situation about black kite as a resident in Korea? Do you have any information?
I only have very brief information. And the current situation is that we don't have there is not many nesting records recently. There is only probably 1 or 2 every year, I think. But I am not really up to date on in the field situation. But there are very few breeding records nowadays. Mostly I think there are confirmed records in Busan in recent 5 or 7 years. And I'm sure there are a few around southern coast, but that's probably it. In Socheong Island, they recorded, I think, a little more than 100 black kites last fall migrating through. So there must be some breeding population up north in the coast, maybe. But yeah, so it's very a small number.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions from the audience?
Thank you. Maybe I'll ask you a question.
Okay.
Recently there was this seniors voucher came to this part of the world recorded in Singapore. I remember I went to Korea during the last, I don't remember the symposium.
Almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, we went to a field where I saw this feeding station. I wonder how were the seniors voucher doing, and how did it start the feeding station project? How did it all begin?
Well, yeah, as far as I know, I think it started by the locals that found out if they throw out the basically meat processing leftovers out in the field, the birds will come and pick it up. And in Charon and the site where we went, I think with the ARRCN meeting is one of the big sites. And I think there are probably up to 5 sites now, 5 or more. There was, I think, a little bit of a challenge when avian influenza broke out, and like a discussion if they should continue to feed or not. But I think at the end, they are continuing to feed the birds to actually keep them around. But yeah, I'm also away from South Korea right now, so I'm not really in touch with the most recent information though. So, but I hope that answered.
Hi everyone, this is Chang Yong. Can I add some comments on the feeding station for the seniors vultures?
Yes.
So as you know, the feeding stations are usually managed by individuals or local NGOs. And however, for the last 3 or 4 years, we have suffered from a series of zoonotic disease outbreaks, like along with the coronavirus outbreaks. So Korea suffered from avian influenza outbreak, foot and mouth disease, and African swine fever issues. Therefore, it's quite challenging to manage feeding station now. So many wintering vultures are suffering from food shortage, and they are spread out throughout the country recently.
Can I ask, is it because of mostly because of the African swine fever? In the recent,
it's still limited in the northern parts of South Korea, but still it's slowly spreading down to South Korea. So many local governments are concerned about the spread of disease through the vultures. So there are strong regulations on feeding for vultures now. So it's quite challenging to manage the wintering population, to support the wintering population. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for that interesting session on Q&A. I'd like to now go on to the next presentation. Can I invite Mr. Taiwan Sai to present the country report for Taiwan now? Thank you, Mr. Taiwan Sai.
Here, yes, I'm here. I'm not Daihua Cai, I'm Siming Ling, the second author. Yes.
Yeah, sorry, this was what I was given, but never mind. Please continue.
Yes, can you see my? Yes, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see the screen.
So is everything all right? I'm not sure. Is this okay?
Yes.
So
yes.
you see the full picture of my presentation?
No, actually, we can see your personal slide, not public slides.
Okay, how do I use this? I think I'm.
And technical people give some advice, please. Technical support.
If you cancel the sharing and try to share again, you can select the screen that you want to share. So first go to the presenter mode and then try a sharing option on the Zoom. Then you can first start the PowerPoint sharing mode, I think, which is
okay, I will try again. And
okay. Please just stop your sharing, screen sharing first.
I would like to do this once again because I cannot.
Dr. Chai, please just stop sharing your screen first.
Sharing my screen, but I think I have a little bit problem with my Zoom. I think I shrink everything and I cannot find my oh, okay, I can do this once again. Let me show it again. I find my own screen and I make the slideshow first and then I go to find my I share this. Is this okay? No. Okay. Oh my God.
Dr. Siming, maybe you can try click on the slideshow.
I make a slideshow first. And then I go to the controller and
can you right click on the slide and select hide presenter view? because you are showing us the presenter's view.
Okay.
We can see your next slide and your notes.
If you cancel the share screen and start it again, it will show you an option to select which screen you're sharing. And I'm sure you have a separate monitor with the slideshow option with the presenter screens. So.
Okay, sorry. I think I'm going to cancel. I try this once again. I make.
Yes, I think it looks better now. Is this what we want?
Can you see the screen now?
Yeah, very well.
Yes.
Is this
Yes,
all
I
right?
can see the
Very
screen.
clear.
Okay. Is everything okay now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ling from Taiwan, and I'm now the current chair of Raptor Research Group of Taiwan. As you can see from the information I provided here, Taiwan is a medium-sized island with a lot of mountains and about 60% coverage of forest. Nobody really knows the exact number, but we estimated that there are about 10,000 bird watchers in this country. And currently we have 27 hawks and eagles, 6 falcons and kestrels. We have 13 owls, and this leads to a total of 46 raptor species. And the major purpose of this report is to show the recent population trends of migratory raptors and the population trends of several resident raptors. And we are going to show how citizen science helped in raptor research. And also I'm going to introduce the rising public awareness of raptor conservation in Taiwan. So first, let's take a look at the migratory species. Here is Kenting National Park, and this is the southmost tip of the island. And due to the shape of this peninsula, all the migratory raptors gather at this place in the ordinary migratory season. So this is what they look like in October. The systematic migration survey has been conducted here for nearly 30 years. However, it was until 2004 when we first established a standardized protocol for migratory survey. Every year, the survey started from September 1st to October 31st. And every morning, the investigators stay at the watch site for 7 hours from 5 a.m. to 12 p.m. Based on the result of this 18-year survey, we have recorded about 27 raptor species here. And the raptors are constituted by 2 major species, the Chinese sparrowhawk and the gray-faced buzzard. The Chinese sparrowhawk contributed about 77% of total bird count, and the gray-faced buzzard contributed about 22%. And also based on the 18-year survey data, the major migratory peak of the Chinese sparrowhawk occurs in late September, and the peak of the gray-faced buzzard occurs in mid-October. In recent years, we also noticed the trend of population growth in both species, especially after 2017. Both species represented a very clear pattern of population growth, and both reached their historical high records. Currently, we did not have an exact idea why this population growth occur, but we believe that the ban of illegal hunting across the migratory route might have helped the recovery of both raptor species. And the detailed population trend of this species will be reported by one of our researchers tomorrow afternoon. And the Chinese sparrowhawk and the gray-faced buzzard are not the only two cases. The trend of population growth or range expansion also occurred in some other resident raptors. For example, the black-winged kite, the black eagle, and the black kite. The first case I'm going to introduce is the black-winged kite. It seems that the expansion of this kite seems to be a global pattern, not only in Asia, but also in Europe and in Africa. In 3 decades ago, this kite is not so common. And the first sighting of this kite occurred in 1998. And in 2001, we recorded the first breeding record of this kite. And since 2001, the black-winged kite successfully colonized the whole island and showed an obvious population expansion. This is the result of one of my graduate students. He just accomplished his oral defense last week, and he organized the long-term records from 8 different airports across Taiwan. As you know that bird strikes is a major threat to the airplane in airports, and it's very dangerous. That is the reason why the airports paid high efforts to do bird survey, especially raptor survey. And that was the reason why they have such kind of long-term data for the raptors. So based on these records, we can see that the population expansion occurred from 7 among the 8 airports in Taiwan. And on the other hand, it's interesting to notice that the population of the Eurasian kestrel is decreasing. And here, the left-hand side is the summary of the 8 airports, and the right-hand side is the long-term data from eBird dataset. Both datasets show the concurrent pattern of population expansion of the black-winged kite, but maybe the population decrease of the Eurasian kestrel. And another story is the range extension of the black eagle. The black eagle is a very special species. It is interesting that it is the biggest, the largest breeder in Taiwan, but it is the latest to be discovered by ornithologists until 1975. And it was more than 70 years after the first systematic survey of bird fauna in 1860s. It is very, very secretive species. Until the last decade of the 20th century, it was still very rare. 20 years ago, we have to go to the mountains, we have to go to natural forests to find this eagle because they are very shy, they are very secretive, they far away from human activities. Very difficult to approach. However, the population seemed to increase in recent years. And so we call for eagle records from the Facebook platform. And we are surprised to find that the occurrence of the eagle has expanded in the last 8 years. For example, here you can see in 2014, the eagle occurs only in about 30% of counties and townships in Taiwan. But the ratio increased to be more than 40% in recent years. And the eagles even occur in the beetle nut garden, and we have never seen this before. what are they doing here? We are curious about this because previously we thought that the beetle nut garden is a place with very poor species diversity. Only those pigeons, sparrows, and sometimes squirrels live in the beetle nut garden. However, because the canopy structure of the beetle nut tree is very simple, so the doves and pigeons have to nest at the same place. And the nest of these pigeons and doves make the eagle very easy to prey on the chicks of the doves. So maybe the hunting behavior explains why the eagles approach to the suburban areas. It's very, very difficult to imagine 20 years ago that we can see the eagles. We can only see the eagles in the mountain regions 20 years ago, but 20 years later, they are approaching to the cities by themselves. In the meanwhile, we also notice a weird individual who lost all its tail feathers. After seeing these individuals for many times, we suspect that this syndrome seems to be irreversible. So we decide to trace this individual by using the photographs from bird photos. So we call for the photos for these single individuals, and soon we received dozens of photographs. And many bird photographers have already seen this individual and took the picture from this individual. So we got a total of more than 40 different localities from different places, and it lasted for more than 3 years. And when we put all the localities on the map, amazingly, this is possibly the first black eagle to be traced with a non-invasive method. We even never touch this eagle, but we can trace the movement pattern, we can trace the home range of this individual. And in recent years, we start to call for the photo for another one. This is another weird eagle, which seems to have some other syndrome on the left wing. So possibly we could have a chance to publish a second paper of the eagle movement of this individual a couple of years later. And the third resident bird, which we are going to the third case is about the population expansion of the blackwing, black kite. Before 1970s, this is possibly the most abundant raptor species in Taiwan. However, in 1980s, the kite experienced a dramatic population decline. And we think that the major reason might be the overuse of rodenticides and pesticides. Because in the harvest season, the farmers use huge amount of rodenticides and pesticides to protect their crops. However, the kites pick up the dead bodies of the dead doves and dead rodents, and therefore they also take the poison. And a couple of years ago, a documentary movie, which we called Kite Fly, published by our society, we record the story of this population decline. And this movie attracted the attention from the public, and because people do not want to eat poisonous food anymore, so the public asked the farmers and they asked the governments to reduce the use of rodenticides and pesticides. And this might cause the population recovery of the kites. In usual cases, the estimation of raptors is very difficult, but the kites have a very special behavior. They gather in the evening around the roosting site. And this provides us a chance to do the precise population estimation for these kites. So every year, actually twice a year, we call for experienced volunteers to do this survey. And all the volunteers go to their own the roosting sites, which we know, and we could count the kite number precisely. As you can see from this figure, the population of the kite has recovered from less than 300 individuals to 800 individuals in recent years. And the last story I'm going to share is the Christie Goshawk, which lives in the cities. Also, in 20 years ago, we never saw a hawk in the city. But 20 years later, they occurred everywhere in the cities, and they built the nests in the parks and sometimes in the alley trees. And sometimes the nest is so exposed to the crowded streets. So I and Dr. Lin, my collaborator, published a paper, and we found that the urban nests have a much higher breeding success compared to the rural nests. In order to raise the public concern for the hawk, we set webcam system for the hawk nest in the YouTube channel. And soon the hawk family became superstars on the internet. The reason might be that the breeding season of this nest just fitted the COVID-19 outbreak. So many people have to work from home and they just feel boring. So they turn on the computer to see what the hawks are doing. In the daytime, they see how the hawk feed their babies, and at the nighttime, they count the mosquitoes and they count the geckos. And in the afternoon of Mother's Day of 2020, there was a very heavy rainstorm, a crazy rainstorm. And in order to protect the chicks, the mother hawk opened the wings to protect the chicks. And the photograph of this scene was so popular that it was reported by social media and reported even by news reporters. So we designed the image of how the mother hawk protects its chicks, and we made this umbrella because we have a lot of fans of the mother hawk, and they love this umbrella so much. So we soon sold out all the umbrellas. During this period, we accumulate more than 2 million views. And but the most happy thing we see is the growing of the chicks, because all the chicks have color rings. So we could trace the photographs and trace the dispersal of these birds from, for example, like this. And this is the early home range of these brother and sisters. And also, it's very happy to see the young hawks to hunt for themselves. And sometimes the photographs were taken from far away, showing that some of the chicks has successfully established a new territory in another city. And it's also very happy to see the young hawk turn into the other plumage. So here we're going to make some conclusions. In Taiwan, we demonstrate here that the rising awareness of raptor conservation, and now the public asks for a reduced use of rodenticides and pesticides. We also show that citizen science helped us a lot in raptor research, and we also noticed the population recovery of several raptor species. Now we have a lot of presentations and audience for the Raptor conference held every 5 years. And the final good news is that we are going to have a new Raptor Center in March this year. And we got a very beautiful big building, and we got some fund to do this. And after the COVID problem to be solved, we are more than welcome for all of you to visit our new Raptor Center in the near future. And thanks a lot for your attention. And I'm also sorry for the technical problem which caused by myself in the beginning of my presentation. And let's keep in touch. And I'm very glad to meet you on the internet. Thank you.
Thank you, Xin Lin, for that interesting presentation on raptor work in Taiwan. A lot of great things are happening in Taiwan, and we got quite a good quite good example to follow on how to attract public awareness, public support. I like the piece on the Goshawk umbrella. And we have some time for questions. So any questions from the audience?
Mr. Kinchai, I have one question. Hi.
For Dr. Simin Lin, yes.
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
Simin Lim, Angelila from Malaysia.
Hi, Jalila.
This one regarding the kites that involve in rodenticide toxicity as a secondary poisoning, right?
Yes,
so
yes.
You mentioned about the action by the maybe the agriculture ministry or any group in the government levels that involve in helping this matter. I mean, regarding the use of rodenticide by the farmers. This is and what's other action by maybe vet group to help to save the bird?
Yes. So I think the process is that we demonstrate this situation in Taiwan. And do you know that a couple of years ago, the government, they provide rodenticides for free. I mean, all the farmers can get the rodenticides free, a huge amount of rodenticides. And
but what type is that? Because there are some that maybe not cause any secondary toxicity, but there's some that cause toxicity.
Yes,
that infect the birds. Yeah.
Yeah. And the government stopped to provide the free rodenticide anymore. That is a progress. And then also many companies, they start to encourage to buy the crops from the farmers who they reduce the use of rodenticide and pesticides. And it's very popular here in Taiwan that the farmers start to use less poison in their farms. And the government also, they will support the farmers if the farmers find some endangered species in their habitats. So that's how the government helped our organization to push this issue. I think maybe one of our researchers from the Pingtung University, they have more experience for this. So maybe you can get in touch with Dr. Hong, Dr. Xiaoyu Hong, or another PhD student who is called Lin Hui Shan. Both of them are experienced workers with farmers and poison issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jalila, for the question, and Dr. Simin Lin for the answer. The next country report is supposed to be from Vietnam, but I don't see Lee Man Hong in the attendance list. So we shall move on to the following one, which is the report for the Philippines, and it will be presented by Alex Tiongko. Alex, are you there, please? Alex Tiongko.
Yes, we're here.
Hi, Alex. Please.
I'm with
please
Teresa.
Oh, okay, Teres, please proceed.
Hold on. So,
Yes, that's the one. Hello, my name is Alex Tiongko from the Philippines. We are with, and I'm with Teresa, who has done the presentation. We are with Raptor Watch Network Philippines. And our job here is to do conservation and reforestation of raptors, conservation of raptors and reforestation of flyways around the Philippines. The lockdowns have curtailed our movements to our study areas, and our personal involvement is no longer there for the last 2 years. But our partners have continued the conservation programs in the usual way. If you will recall, historically, we have 5 study areas in the Philippines, 2 in the north, in Pagudpud, and Sanchez Mira and Pamplona for a spring migration, 2 in the south for autumn migration, Glan Sarangani and Governor Generoso. We have a new project in the middle of Luzon, around the vicinity of Dupax, Nueva Vizcaya, and we shall discuss that as well, although we just started it lately. First, we start with Sanchez Mira and Pamplona in Cagayan Valley. Our partners there are the local government and the Cagayan State University and the Department of Tourism, Region 2. Historically, in 2013, we found this place to be a huge roosting site for spring migrating gray-faced buzzards. And we also found out there that traditional hunting had been going on for years. Our initial investigation showed that in one night, just in one night, during the peak week, the hunters are capable of harvesting 4,000 gray-faced buzzards a night. And that was a staggering figure. Teresa and I, we went to talk to the farmers and we met with hostility. So we had to change our tactics. We invited the ARRCN and the educational community of Manila to help us educate the children of Sanchez Mira and Pamplona. We strictly kept to the campus, inviting responsible citizens, the mayors, the community leaders, and even the farmers cooperative. We invited even hunters. We did educational caravan for we were going to do 3 straight years and another 3 after that as necessary. But on the second year, at the end of our second year program, because we go there about 4 or 5 times a year, the mayors of Sanchez Mira and Pamplona decided to support the program. They somehow were convinced that conservation of the gray-faced buzzards was good for their coconut plantations, which is abundant there, and their rice plantations. So in 2016, they started their own campaign. This is the mayor talking to the public. In public, that is the poster which we made, and there were educational materials we have done, spread all over the 2 municipalities. In 2017, the mayors came back and reported to us about 80% stoppage of traditional hunting in Sanchez Mira and Pamplona. We don't know how they were able to achieve that figure, but it is very apparent when we were there in 2013 for the first time, the night sky was literally lit up with searchlights looking for birds perched on coconut trees. But in 2017, we didn't see any. Of course, we got reports that hunting was being done in the fringes, and the mayors would quickly send people to talk to these hunters, tell them what the problem is and help them out if they need food. And so we are happy that the CEO or Chief Executive Officer of Sanchez Mira, Dean Owano, is here. Cagayan State University, Sanchez Mira, is here to present her study on the historical biographical study of the gray-faced buzzard in Sanchez Mira. This should be good listening because it tells us of the traditional way in which they hunted the gray-faced buzzards. There is a side story here. Japan and Taiwan have been conserving their raptors since the last century. Taiwan had been monitoring the movements of raptors south, maybe to the Philippines, since 1995. And their records show that there was attained a steady population of gray-faced buzzards for 10 years prior to 2015. So that's 60,000 for 10 years prior to 2016. In 2016, they reported a little surge of population. And this surge continued to grow until last year, they were able to monitor in excess of 117,000 gray-faced buzzards traveling south. So that's practically double the population, the stable population of 60,000. We do not claim any responsibility for that. There is just a happy coincidence, which upon talking to the mayors and the community leaders, spurred them on to do the conservation for with more vigor. Maybe because of the pandemic, movement is less, but surely when movement is more flexible, they will be there renewing the drive. Our next study area is in Pagudpud, Ilocos Norte. Our partners there are the Northwestern University, Banshan Beach Resort, the Department of Tourism, and the communities around the area. We started our monitoring program there in 2014. Because we discovered it to be a huge choke point for migratory raptors leaving north. The Philippines is like a sea. There are so many points in the Philippines where raptors can leave from the Philippines, but this seems to be a great choke point. In 2018, because of the studies of our partners, Northwestern University, the National Geographic has declared this area important avian migration flyway of Asia. We are happy that the study of Michael Calaramo on the 5-year density report of migratory raptors will be presented here later on. Again, that's a very good piece of study, 5 years, and we hope you all listen to that. Another 5 years has been planned between Michael and ourselves, starting at the first reasonable opportunity, maybe in 2023. But we hope that at this time, there will be a bigger academic base and community base, perhaps extending all the way to Adams. The next two we will discuss will be on Mindanao for the auto migration. On Mindanao, we do not see any problem of hunting, traditional or otherwise. Perhaps opportunistic, we get reports every now and then, but it seems that the problem there, they don't really hunt it for food. It seems that the problem there is deforestation. You see the area when we visited it, and it was the flyways and the roosting sites were almost denuded, and we see that the most important project we can have in that area is reforestation. And of course, reforestation of the flyway, and of course, migration monitoring so that we will have records of that. Because of the broad base of this area, we are supported by the Office of the Governor, the Environmental Conservation and Protection Center, and 5 flyway communities, including the municipality of Gland. This area was able to launch 2 raptor festivals, completely local, attended by people around the communities and even the neighboring province as far as Bukidnon. The reforestation is on its 4th year. We started with 5 hectares. We know that reforestation is not just planting of trees, it is the nurturing of trees. And who can nurture it better except the community? If you make it a sustainable community livelihood program, planting fruit trees amid the forest trees. Next year, we plan to launch another 5 years. We are a bit sad that Dr. Roy Mejorada, who made a paper on the sustainable livelihood programs of Mount Taltak, a known roosting site, is not able to present his paper here. However, we are happy that this is the 5th year of auto-migration survey conducted by ECPC, and the report on this study will be presented by Joylyn Dalandan, the lead counter of Sarangani auto-migration monitoring. She is unable to present it in person because her office is now under strict quarantine. So she sent a video of her presentation. It would be nice if she was there herself because she could answer questions, but unfortunately, she's on strict quarantine. This is still the reforestation program. See how denuded the forests are? And these are the children who came to help us study, count. They have very sharp eyes, and we give them school bags and school supplies as a reward. The next one is Cape San Agustin Governor Generoso, Davao Oriental. Our partners here are the local government of Governor Generoso, the mayor and the vice mayor, and the whole community. We have launched a sustainable community livelihood reforestation. We discovered that almasiga, which is a resin tree, was a source of income by the locals, but they have been cut for lumber. So they are planting them, replanting them again, together with 5 forest trees, which helps the almasiga grow better and give better resin. Our partners there also are the GGCAST, Governor Generoso College of Arts, Science and Technology. They are going to present a 5-year study on raptor migration count later on in this summit, this symposium. It is presented by Dennis Melanio. And that's another interesting thing because there was a contest between Cape San Agustin or Gland Sarangani to be an important study, important avian migration flyway, but Sarangani won. And the last one is in Dupax, Nueva Vizcaya. In 2019, our partners, the Department of Tourism, reported to us that there is a huge roosting site for gray-faced buzzards at Dupax, Nueva Vizcaya. And it's a very interesting place because it's only about 250 kilometers as far as the crow flies from the roosting sites in Census Mira and Pamplona. And this area is located is nestled in the Caraballos Mountain, which is hemmed in by 2 huge mountains to the east and to the west. To the west is the Cordilleras, which point out to China and Taiwan. To the west is the long mountain. To the east is the long mountain of Sierra Madre, which points out to Ryukyu Islands and Taiwan. So we were really interested in having a study area there because of the possible biodiversity of migratory species. And now we have it offered in a silver platter. So we asked the Department of Tourism to give us access to the different localities, the different communities which hunt them, and even to the government officers who we would like to talk, and to the academe, so that we can start the program the same way we did with Sanchez Mira and the others. And they did a good job. So they introduced us to these to the entities, and instead of spending 2 weeks as normal for us to be able to launch our campaign to convince people to be on our side, we only spent 5 days because everything has been set for us. Perhaps they heard about Sanchez Mira, perhaps the Department of Tourism had briefed them. I'm sure they did. And this is some of the highlights. We have engaged the communities of Aritao, Tomas Madala, Dupax Norte, and Casabu. And they all want to join the campaign. They're all eager to start the campaign. And then a modus vivendi was agreed between Raptor Network Philippines and Nueva Vizcaya State University. Even the governor asked us to draft a local law.
Yes, Alex,
yes.
Another 2 minutes, please.
Yes, we're almost finished.
Finishing up.
Support the anti-hunting law asked us to draft a local law for them to stop to ban the hunting, not just of the gray-faced buzzards, but of the wildlife itself. And these are the commitments of Nueva Vizcaya State University. We are happy that Dr. Jason Carranza of Nueva Vizcaya State University will be presenting a paper on the avifaunal assessment of the study, of their study site at Kapisanaan for the protection and conservation of endemic and migratory bird species. There are 2 more studies from the Philippines which are being presented here by Jelaine Gan, she is our director, road transect surveys and mapping of forest raptor communities in Luzon. And also from Giovanni Tampus from Mati, Mindanao, dynamics of the raptor migration in Cape San Agustin, Davao Oriental. So we thank you very much for listening to us. I'm with Teresa Cervero. Engaging communities is really important for conservation projects to succeed.
Thank you, Alex and Teresa, for that interesting report. So it shows how important that we have to work with the local government and local community to make inroads into raptor conservation. We don't have time for any questions for Alex, but if you have any, please contact Alex through his email. Thank you. The next report will be for Malaysia, and it will be presented by Dr. Puan himself. Dr. Puan.
Okay, thank you very much, Kim Chai. So now it's my turn to talk about what have been done in the past 3 years in Malaysia in terms of raptor related work. Tracing back to what I've presented during the last symposium in Indonesia in 2019, These are the conclusion that I made. I concluded that nearly 80% of the resident species are still understudied, especially in the case of Dino species. Most research were conducted in Peninsular Malaysia. This means that there's still a lack of study for the resident species found in the eastern part of Malaysia, on Borneo Island. And of course, many potential study awaits to be conducted. And when we talk about research, manpower, financial constraints are often the issue. Okay. And locally, under the Malaysian Nature Society, the Raptor Study Group hopes that they can continue to train young raptor counters for migration monitoring, train more researchers, encourage more support from the government agencies and research institutes, expand research on lesser known resident species, and promote more regional and international efforts in raptor protection. Okay, just give you an idea how many species that we have. So here are the numbers. Excluding migrants, we have total of 35 Dino raptor species, both resident and migratory species. And in the case of nocturnal, there are a total of 19 species coming from 2 families. And out of all these, I would say that more than 80% of these species are under study. In fact, most of the data that we have are basically sightings, records made by bird watchers most of the time. Okay, so I'll first talk about research on Dino raptor species in the last 3 years. Okay, I will begin by, okay, I mentioned this before during the last symposium. It is the work done by Mark Carey, who will be delivering a plenary speech tomorrow. He actually came to Malaysia in January 2017 and to do a reassessment of the Peregrine falcon population in Peninsular Malaysia. This is actually a 10-year reassessment after the first one, okay, done by his late colleague, Laurent Mollet, okay, in early year 2000. And so Carey actually wrote a few reports, and recently he published a paper titled Population Study of the Tropical Peregrine Falcon in West Malaysia, in which he reported that based on playbacks, he and his team, the local birders from the Malaysian Nature Society, they identified at least 36 occupied sites in Peninsular Malaysia in 2019. And these sites are, or these nets or roosting sites are actually limestone. So all these peregrine falcons are using limestone in Peninsular Malaysia. But there is an uncertainty that Carey or the team, they don't know the actual population because we haven't considered those that nest in buildings in the cities. So there is a higher chance that there are more birds than being estimated. Okay, and then in this limestone in Perak, so Madam Koenig, who actually is doing a long-term study observing the breeding of these raptors, including peregrine falcon and black-type falconet, gray-headed fish eagle. The video that I showed you just now are coming from Connie herself, and she had made long-term observation of these raptors on their behavior, breeding, interactions. In fact, she recently published an article in a Singapore Bird Group blog about the diet and also interaction, morphology of black-type falconets. She actually provided detailed description of how to tell apart between the female, male, and juvenile falconets. And then I think recently also there was observation of the Oriental honey buzzard breeding in the same state near the town. So this report will be presented by Mr. Chu later in this afternoon. And so Connie actually collected pellets while she's observing the black-type falconets. So together with my collaborators from University Kebangsaan, Malaysia, we analyzed these pellets to know the diets of the falconets. So this paper will be presented also later. Okay, then when we talk about migratory species, I have to say that migratory species, we have long-term data for migratory species for nearly 15 to 20 years. So in Malaysia, we recorded a total of 26 migratory raptor species, and out of which 13 species are recorded at count site. So in Malaysia, there are 2 prominent count sites, which I will talk about it later. And the picture here actually showing the most prominent one. It is called Tanjung Tuan, located in the western part of Peninsular Malaysia. And over the past 20 years or so, we have collected long-term data on the major migratory species such as the black buzzard, as you can see, Oriental honey buzzard, and the sparrowhawks. And there are some publications being produced by the Malaysian Nature Society. Okay, so this is a diagram showing you the count sites throughout the last 22 years. The blue arrows are indicating the autumn migration count. That means when the migrants are coming from the north, while the red arrows are indicating the northbound migration when the migrants are on the way back to the north. As you can see from here, the blue ones, there are many blue ones. Those are actually isolated attempts in order to identify the best count sites and to know the migration routes. So there were some sites on Borneo, eastern part of Malaysia. There were some sites in Peninsular Malaysia. And if you look at here, the long-term data have to come, I have to say they are coming from Tanjung Tuan and also Taiping. Specifically, these are the 2 years, 2009 and 2010, where we have conducted nearly full season count. That means covering 2 months. There is February, March, and April for the northbound migration, and September, October, November for the autumn migration count. Okay, so this is an update. So our first, for those who don't know, but I'm sure many of you have, some of you have even came to the site, Tanjung Tuan, the most prominent count site. So in year 2008, the Raptor Study Group under the Malaysian Nature Society, under the Bird Conservation Council, they actually established in that year, and they started to conduct systematic counts of these raptors who are passing through from Sumatra to Peninsular Malaysia at the point that I indicated on the map. So again, as I mentioned, 2009, 2010, we conducted the nearly full season count, and it showed that more than 85% of the passage, they are coming from Oriental honey buzzard, black buzzard, and also the Chinese sparrowhawk. Okay, with at least 13 other migratory species. Okay, but anyhow, since year 2016, shorter counts were made. Okay, that's only for 2 weeks due to financial and manpower constraints. Okay, this is the paper that we published in year 2007. Okay, reporting on the 2 nearly full season count. Okay, then the second prominent site, actually this site was identified by Kim Chai when he saw big numbers of raptor flocks passing through can be seen from his house in September 2000. So he started the count, and then he found out that the numbers are actually comparable to those counted in Tanjung Tuan, but the proportion of species and the magnitude, they are different. Okay, so in Tanjung Tuan, total of 11 species has been recorded, and in Taiping there are 13 species. So the three predominant species will be the Oriental honey buzzard, black buzzard, and Chinese sparrowhawk. Okay, just to give you the idea about the proportions. So these are the proportion of raptors counted in Tanjung Tuan and also Taiping. Kim Chai actually wrote a paper on the count in Taiping, and it is under review now. So if we look at Tanjung Tuan, majority of the raptors, the passage, more than 85% is actually Oriental honey buzzard, followed by black buzzard, Chinese sparrowhawk, and so on. Okay, while in Taiping, the majority, in fact, half of the passage is actually black buzzard, then followed by Oriental honey buzzard and Chinese sparrowhawk. Okay, but again, the numbers are comparable. Okay, I presented these diagrams during the first Asian Ornithological Conference sometime in November last year. So from this diagram, it is showing you the daily activity patterns versus the temperature. So in terms of the three major migrants, you can see the timing of their arrival during the day will be different. In the case of Tanjung Tuan, Oriental honey buzzard will be the first that arrive sometime starting from 11 o'clock and mid-afternoon 12 o'clock, followed by black buzzard that came later, and also the Chinese sparrowhawk. While in the case of Taiping, when the migrants are making their southbound migration, so black buzzard is the one that will peak, okay, during sometime starting from 10 o'clock, and then followed by mid-afternoon Oriental honey buzzard and Chinese sparrowhawk later in the afternoon. So we believe that because of the migration route, the terrain, as well as the meteorological condition, as well as the flight behavior of these raptors, all influence the proportion that can be counted at certain sites. Okay, but we still think that these data are important to see the pattern of passage. Okay, well, these diagrams, I'm trying to show you the passage versus the wind direction. So when the migrants are moving from south to north at Tanjung Tuan, so most of the migrants are recorded during the southeastern wind, okay, as you can see from this diagram. While in the case of Taiping, most of the migrants are passing through from the north during the northwest wind. Okay, so logically, all these passages are weather aided. So, but anyway, in Taiping, there are also records of migrants when there are no winds. Okay. So in terms of arrival, in the case of Tanjung Tuan, the arrival, so normally the sparrowhawk and Oriental buzzard, or Oriental honey buzzard, are the ones that will arrive first, and then followed by black buzzard. While in the case of Taiping, okay, sparrowhawks and Oriental honey buzzard will be, okay, I have to correct this again. In Tanjung Tuan, Oriental honey buzzard and black buzzard are the ones that arrive first, and then followed by sparrowhawks. But in the case of Taiping, sparrowhawks and Oriental honey buzzard will be arriving before the black buzzard. Okay, then I will move on to talk about research on nocturnal species in the last 3 years. I have to say again, this will remain the same. Barn owl will be the most widely studied owl species in the country. So in the past 3 years, there were recent work on its movements, diets, sexing, being conducted in Peninsular Malaysia and also Sabah, Sarawak, especially from Sabah. Okay, and the work has been conducted by Dr. Hasper from University Science Malaysia, and he will give a talk, I think, tomorrow. And then in year 2020, my student and I actually wrote a paper estimating the density of owls in oil palm small holdings in Selangor at 3 sites. We recorded a total of 9 owl species in small holdings, which is very interesting, the high diversity in the plantation, in the small holdings. And then later on, I'm going to talk about a small study conducted on a breeding pair of reddish scops owl in a forest. This forest is our Unity forest in Selangor as well. And in year 2020, there is this paper published by Andy. He actually reported the discovery or account of the Raja scops owl, which is very rare in the mountains on Borneo.
You have about three minutes more to your 20 minutes limit.
Yeah. Okay, so based on this is the one that I mentioned that we estimated the owl density. So just to give you an idea of the results. So in these plantations, we use 90 sampling points and involving distance sampling, we estimated the number of birds. So these are the results. So we believe that with the high abundance of raptors in the small holdings, so of course they help to provide biological control service to these small holdings. Okay, this is a short study that I mentioned. So in our university forest, there is a pair of reddish scops owl. So we managed to catch one individual, which is a male, and we failed to catch the partner because we use playback to catch them. While we are playing playbacks, the females seem to be attracted to the nets. So that's why we only put one transmitter on the male reddish scops owl. We found out that this is the home range. So a male reddish scops owl range from 1 to 2 hectare based on our estimation from 137 radio fixes. And the speed of their movement is actually quite slower as compared to another study I conducted a few years ago on the Sunda scops owl. This reddish scops owl actually travel almost half less as fast as this Sunda scops owl. So most of the time we found out they are stationary. They can spend hours at one point at three foraging sites. And these foraging sites, normally they are swampy and also hard to access with steep terrain. And also from the study, we identified 2 routes. And we also saw some interactions between this reddish scops owl and the syntopic Sunda scops owl and also brown bubuk. Okay, so while we were tracking the owls, the pair, we found out they always move in close distance and they produce duets. So after a while, my student actually, they brought a record the duets of these owls. So from these recordings, we managed to run some analysis using discrimination function analysis to separate the calls based on vocal parameters. Visually from the sonogram, you can see the sonogram of the male is quite rounded and shorter with higher frequency range as compared to the more flatter of the female reddish scops owl. I'm going to play the call. So I've tried to put the call close together so you can make a comparison. So by hearing, you can detect there are small slight difference, but only through the sonogram you can really tell the difference. Okay, so the first is actually produced by female. This one is female, male, female, Emil again. Okay. Okay. So during just before the pandemic, my master student started a project. We installed some boxes in the forest. We were trying to assess the breeding of these owls are found in the forest, because that's the only way to use next boxes and CCTV to observe the breeding. But at the same time, we also install recorders to know the vocal activities of these raptors. But anyhow, because Malaysia experienced movement control for after the pandemic, so this project has stopped for a while. Okay, in fact, we face several problems when installing all these boxes, such as box being infested with bees, ants. So these are the challenges. Okay, so just to let you know, these are the papers that are going to be presented. They are all research being conducted in Malaysia. So including today, the one by Mr. Chu on the breeding of Oriental honey buzzard, followed by my student Amira, who will be presenting on vocal activity of the changeable hawk eagle. And tomorrow, there are papers coming from Dr. Hasper on barn owl, 2 of them, and followed by the diets of the black-thighed falconets, and by Adiba, and also the study observation of raptors in Central Forest Pine, ecological corridor presented by Mr. Shafiz. And later on tomorrow, we're going to play the video, the breeding of Oriental honey buzzard, and from Mr. Chu and Dr. Chan, and also the migration in Tanjung Tuan by Mr. Habibun Najah. To summarize, so definitely the pandemic has affected many research work. And again, most data are still very limited. And then long-term data only available for the migration monitoring. And okay, many studies limited to Peninsular Malaysia. But the good news is, in terms of nocturnal raptor species, there are increasing number of studies in the past 6 years. And okay, so the way forward is what I mentioned earlier at the beginning during intro, where we want to increase capacity building, more research, collaboration, especially in response to all the emerging threats, anthropogenic activities such as habitat loss, landscape change, and climate change. And again, similar to other points highlighted by other presenters on the need of citizen science, which will definitely help a lot. Okay, I'd like to thank ARRCN. I thank the Raptor Study Group of MNS for me to use to present the data, especially to Kim Chai and also Mark. To my collaborators, Professor Muhammad Sakaria, Muhammad Saiful Mansur, to Madam Koni, and also Mr. Chu, and to my students, most importantly, they are the one who did the hard work. So that's all for my country reports. Hello, Kim Chai.
Sorry, I'm little. Thanks, Paul, for that coverage on raptor work in Malaysia, especially on owls. Unfortunately, we don't have time for any questions. If anybody has any, please contact Juan on his email. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to the country report for Singapore, which will be presented by Tan Kim Cheong. Kim Cheong, are you ready?
Yes. Okay,
Thank you.
so
Hi, Kim Cheong.
yeah, hi Kim Chai. So okay, I hope everybody can see my screen.
Yes, you can see your screen.
Yeah, I'll dive right in. So Okay, so for raptors in Singapore, we have 48 species, which is quite similar to what some of you guys have presented. 36 species are diurnal, 29 are visitors, both migrants as well as non-breeding visitors from the region. 7 residents, and for the nocturnal ones, we have 12 species, 4 visitors and 8 residents. For visiting raptors, 29 listed over there. 3 are globally threatened species indicated in red. They are the greater spotted eagle, the steppe eagle, as well as eastern imperial eagle. 2 are globally near threatened indicated in blue, the Himalayan vulture and cinereous vulture. And those that are in bold are rare. So about half of the visiting species are rare. For resident raptors, we have 7 species, 1 globally near threatened, which is the gray-headed fish eagle, highlighted in blue. And the rare one among the resident is the crested serpent eagle. Okay, the photo is a juvenile white-bellied sea eagle. For visiting owls, we have 4 species, and all of them are rare. Resident owls, 8 species. 3 are rare, bald eagle owl, brownfish owl, and brown wood owl. Okay, in the last few years, a few species have been added. One is the shikra, first sighted or photographed on 21st November 2019, just 1 day only. And subsequently, a photographer reviewed his picture back in 2012, about 10 years ago. At that time, they thought it was an unusual looking Japanese sparrowhawk, but then it turned out to be another juvenile shikra. So both the records are juveniles. Long-eared owl, just 2 months ago, we had one at the southern shore, Marina East area, first record. It was harassed by crows. So if not for the crows harassing it, nobody would know it's there. Subsequent to the sighting, nobody has sighted it. So it just goes to show how difficult it is to detect nocturnal raptors. Okay, this is the latest edition, the cinereous vulture, first seen on 29 December 2021, last month. You can see in the photo is in the company of 2 Himalayan vultures. Actually, there are a total of 5 Himalayan vultures, but they are outside of this photo frame. And for the cinereous vulture, you can see that actually its eyes is closed, it's tired, probably hasn't fed for a few days. And the next day, it flew off, but shortly it landed on a housing estate in a grassy area, unable to fly anymore. So it was taken in by our national park boards for checking by veterinarians and found to be in good health, just that probably weak. So after it has been nursed back to health, there were 3 attempts to release it before it finally flew off on the 10th of January, about 10 days ago. Brownfish owl, also a new species. Okay, so it was seen last year, 17 February 2021, and this individual actually formed a mixed species pair with the buffyfish owl. You can see the photo on the right. The brownfish owl is on the left, the buffyfish owl is on the right. And they produce a hybrid chick, which looked more like the buffyfish owl. And then again, following this sighting, a photographer looked back at her photos previously taken in 3rd August 2019, that's more than 1 year from that sighting, and found that it was actually a brownfish owl. So for raptor monitoring, during the migration months from October to March, we generate monthly reports to keep track of the visitors that we get for the raptors. And for the April to June and July to September period, we do quarterly reports to account for the late departures, the overstayers, as well as the early arrivals. And next, I'll cover the raptor watch that we do. This photo is a flock of oriental honey buzzards. So even in urban Singapore, we get to see this kind of flocks. Okay, and our raptor watch is an annual one-day affair in November, mainly to generate interest in raptors as well to collect some data. So like you see over here, it's done at the roadside under the shade of some small trees. Okay, so this is the raptor watch numbers for migrant raptors from 2008 when we started the one-day Raptor watch. So the 2008 as well as 2010 was affected by weather, rain, so the numbers are low. So from 2009, 2011, 2012, you see the numbers about 500 to 700. Then for 2014, it was an exceptional year, close to 2,000 migrant raptors were recorded. And subsequently, it just tapered off back to the mean. 2020, the whole day was washed out with only less than 5 migrant raptors about. And on the right side, you can see the average is about 500 migrant raptors during our raptor watch. Okay, this slide shows the resident raptors that are recorded during this raptor watch. So again, 2008, the first year, there's some rain, and then subsequently average about 100 residents. And 2020, even with the rain whole day, some residents are still out and about. So on the rightmost, you see the average for all these 14 years is about 100 resident raptors. So for last year, 2021, okay, we counted 553 raptors, 420 were migrant raptors, 100 residents, and 33 unidentified. Most of these unidentified are probably migrant raptors. So species count, there were 16 species, 9 migrant species, and 7 resident species. Okay, the star shows the sites that we did our one-day raptor count. Okay, so the peak was in the middle of the day, okay, when the thermals are the strongest. This for migrants. And these are the numbers. Okay, the most numerous are the oriental honey buzzard. Every year is the same. We had 226 last year. Second and third place alternate between Japanese sparrowhawk and black baza. So last year it was the Japanese sparrowhawk, 106, black baza 62, and the rest are all much smaller number compared to the top 3. So we have some Chinese sparrowhawk, Peregrine, Falcon, Western osprey, gray-faced buzzard, eastern marsh harrier, and common buzzard. For the common buzzard, basically we haven't adopted the split. We just lump them all together. Okay, for the residents, the most numerous are the Brahminy kites, 42, white-bellied sea eagle, 23, changeable hawk eagle, 21, and then some gray-headed fish eagle, crested serpent eagle, crested goshawk, as well as black-winged kites. Okay, next, I'll go on to some recent notable observations. For the crested serpent eagle, the first breeding record was only obtained last year, 2021. Okay, one of the birders managed to get a video of a pair mating, and there was one flashing that was observed that was still dependent on the adults, and there were observations of the adult flying in with snake and leaving the prey with the flashling, and the adult just flew off, leaving the flashling to feed itself. Okay, for the barred eagle owl, okay, this is quite a recent bird, late 1990s and 2000 sporadic sightings. 2009 is the first photo evidence we got on Pulau Win, a small island near to Malaysia. And 2013, then we got it on the main island. In 2017, breeding on the small island, and only in 2018 when we had the first breeding record on our main island. Crested goshawk, okay, pre-2007, there were few breeding records and few site records also. And it's only after 2017 when we have some nestings in the early part of the year. And this species is adapting to urban areas. They nest in dense foliage trees 15 to 20 meters tall. So I think as briefed by our Taiwanese colleagues, crested goshawks in Taiwan is also adapting to urban areas. And I think in Malaysia also, this species is also moving into urban and suburban areas. And we also recorded double brooding by 2 different pairs. Okay, so the first record of double brooding in this species was in 2017 in February when the first brood fledged. And in March, the mating was observed again and nest was reused. And in June, another 2 chicks on the nest. The second record of double brooding was just last year. In January, the first brood of 2 chicks fledged. And in the same month, mating was observed. And in March, the second brood of 2 chicks. However, 1 chick died, and then the other chick survived and fledged. Notable vagrants, the Himalayan vulture. Okay, just last month in December, there were 5 birds, and then they flew off. So we didn't see them again until 19th of January, which is just yesterday, there were 7 birds. Another notable vagrant is the Falcon. First record is only in 2007. Previous records were all one-day records, and the latest record was in 26 November 2021, and these individuals stayed for more than 2 weeks hunting in the same area. It's quite unusual. As you can see, the normal migration route is from Northeast Asia across the Indian subcontinent to Africa. Instead, this individual has come down to Singapore. There are some so-called missing migrants, the steppe eagle and short-eared owl. There are no records of the steppe eagle for 20 years and short-eared owl for 15 years. This photo is taken in Nepal of a steppe eagle. Okay, so thank you for your attention.
Thanks, Kim Cheong, for that brief but interesting report from Singapore. Very unusual that, you know, Singapore being such a small island, but I guess it's at the end of the East Asian migratory route, and that's why you get all these unusual raptors being seen in Singapore. So I open the floor to the audience for any questions for Kim Cheong. Anyone with?
Hello, Kim Cheong.
Yes, carry on.
Hi, Kim Cheong. I'm Chan Hui from Malaysia, and I am from Johor as well. So it has been quite regular for Singapore to have the vulture visiting, including the different vulture, also recently the Chinellus vulture. And you mentioned that the Chinellus vulture is in a risk that probably had not been fit for a few days before arriving in Singapore, and we don't really see them in Malaysia, so they probably just tucked into Malaysia and didn't dock at all. And MPAC also had the effort to rehabilitate and also recruit the Chinellus vulture. Do you think it's now the time for us to have a replenished stadium for vulture in Singapore? In the government and MPAC is very keen on supporting all these vegan rules vulture.
Yeah.
Vulture restaurant.
Yeah. Thanks for the question. Yeah, it's a good question. In fact, this idea has been thought about, suggested before also, but we also need to note that there's actually a law against feeding on wildlife that was enacted within the last few years. Yeah, so I think there's some
different. You know, the Thailand is doing very well on defending that. That is why they can leave Singapore, right? Now Singapore to tap part and started to replenish stadium for them, I think.
Yeah, so I think that the idea is something that needs to be explored with MPACs and maybe other government agencies like the Land Authority, because we have to find a place, a location that is suitable, and we also probably need to get some kind of sponsors to procure all the necessary meat and all those stuff. Yeah, so it will take a while to take this idea further.
I hope it will be implemented, and maybe you can see all the vulture fly even further. Oh, by the way, do you think MPAC had tagged the Chinellus vulture on any GPS or satellite tracking device?
Based on what I've seen, the photos of the bird being released, there doesn't seem to be any tags on the bird. It could be that they may not have any suitable ones because their tags are mainly for shorebirds, so they may not have any suitable ones for the vulture.
Not even the wing tag or.
No, from what the photos I've seen, there are no tags on the Chinellus vulture.
Okay. You could do that actually.
In fact, actually, southern Johor, there's a bigger land area. So actually, I was thinking maybe southern Johor could be a suitable site for a feeding station, Maybe you guys can consider that.
I hope we can do that, but it's like very long process and administration as well. Yeah, but the problem is they didn't really stop in Johor, and they all stop in Singapore. Why?
Because they didn't find any food, so if you set up a station there, they will stop there.
I hope we can. So we can just see them in Malaysia as well.
All right. Any other questions for Kim Kyung? It is a report from Singapore. If there are no other questions, thanks to Kim Kyung, and we'll move on to the next presentation, which is the country report for Indonesia. And this will be presented by Luputu Eswayanti Kusuma Uni. Are you there, please?
Yes, I am here. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Eswayanti.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I'm start sharing my screen. Okay, so for today, first of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Eswayanti Kusuma Uni from Udayana University. For today, country report presentation.
Excuse me. I think you are still on the slide.
Okay.
I think you have to share your slide.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. Hang on now to. Okay, slide. So. Okay. Is it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, sorry for that. Yeah. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Eswayanti Kusuma Uni from Udayana University in Bali. Pak Adam actually asked me to deliver the country report for Indonesia. Since there is a internet limitation issue in his current position, so he asked me to deliver the presentation report for Indonesia. So I will deliver the updates on raptors in Indonesia, considering their conservation status and conservation action and migration. Indonesia is an archipelagic country situated in between Asia and Australia continents. This unique position results in high biodiversity and dynamism in Indonesia, including in raptor species. A total of 76 species of raptor is protected by Indonesian law. Through Ministry of Environment and Forestry Regulation in 2018, that consists of 60 species from family Accipitridae and 10 species from family Falconidae. They are either sedentary or migratory species. So you can see in this infographic, so Indonesia have like 70,094 species bird, and which is like 527 endemic species, including raptor in there. This report will highlight the recent state of both migratory and sedentary raptor species in Indonesia, with particular focus on their conservation status and effort. For the sedentary species, this report will highlight the conservation effort of 2 endemic raptor species in Indonesia, the endangered Javan hawk eagle, Nisatus bartelsi, and the critically endangered Flores hawk eagle, Nisatus floris. So the first that we would like to share is about the Flores hawk eagle. So Flores hawk eagle or Nisatus floris is listed as critically endangered. And then we see here, so they are distributed in the Lesser Sunda Island, in big islands such as Lombok, Sumbawa, Flores, Alor, and Timor. This bird is found in lowland and submountain forest up to 1,600 meters above sea level, but mostly in lowland rainforest. It has been sighted over cultivated area, but always close to intact or semi-intact forest. For the territory size of this bird is predicted to be 40 kilometers per square per pair has been estimated. And then evidence suggested that the breeding takes place during the dry season, which is in June and July in Indonesia. So in order to conserve the forest eagle, so what's actually the program that government do? So there are 4 programs that they conducted. First is to maintain and increase the population of forest eagles. And the second is improving the quality of forest area, which are the main habitat for the forest eagle. As you know that for us is the habitat destruction and habitat conference is always the main issue for our wildlife species. And then it's also developed excited program in order to maintain and increase the population of forest eagle, and then increase the public understanding and ethical awareness about the forest eagle. Here I present some photos that represent the activity conducted by our counterpart from from the Lesser Sunda Island. The first is this in Kelimutu National Park and surrounding the ground launching of the research and development program for the adoption of the endangered forest eagle nest. It is on 30th of November 2021, the first. And then also they're doing like the maintenance activities for ecosystem restoration, and also doing some patrol, collaborate with the local community as a partner in protecting the national park area, as well as in Rinjani, in Taman Nasional, in Gunung Rinjani National Park. They are doing the mapping of birdwatching tourism area. And also there is one interesting activity that conducted by our counterpart or our colleagues in Flores. They are doing the nest adoption program for the Flores eagle. And then there is one interesting documentation from the Kelimutu National Park, in which they observe the breeding record of the Flores eagle. This is in Kelimutu National Park, specifically at Resagago Forest. They will observe one pair of the forest eagle with one juvenile. This is on October 2021. And then also in here in the photo, you can see there is like above is the pair of forest eagle soaring in the sky, and then there is one adult, the one parents like observing the nest. And here is in the highlight is the nest location of the pair. So and also there is a record of breeding as well in Waiwul Natural Forest in Flores, in which they are like observe like 2 individuals soaring in area of transition of forest and plantation. So they are like occur like in the transition between the forest and the human settlement. And also one record, beautiful footage is presented by the Rinjani National Park. This the birth of the heads of one individual that this name is Badra on July 2021. So in Taman Nasional Gunung Rinjani, you can see this is in Lombok Island in Lesser Sunda. And they also like have record on the development of the Badra. So mom like already fed Badra on August 2021, and then when they are already like 15 days old, the Badra print its feather. So it is a good news that we heard about the endemic species of them. And then about the Javan hawk eagle. So the Javan hawk eagle is listed as endangered species. Yeah, and you can see this is the bird, and the bird is actually give inspiration to the founding father of Indonesia, Insinyur Soekarno, as a national symbol of Indonesia. So the Garuda, burung Garuda, is inspired by the Javan hawk eagle. So if we see in here, the population trend, it is decreasing, and the number of mature individual is about 300 to 500, and distribution is in Java. So they said like it's the species is endemic in Java and is distributed scatterly along the island. So it's found in the island of Java, where it is restricted to the remaining patches of forest and is consequently scarce. So in increase in survey effort and knowledge of the species homing size has led to consecutive upward revision of the global population. Now in 2004 is stated to be over 600 individual, and others researcher estimated as about 270 and 600 pairs. So this species is frequently found in primary humid forests, although individuals and even nests have been recorded in secondary forests, production forests, and tropical semi-deciduous forests, preferring rugged slope with high vegetation cover. This is based on Shartimilia and Suzuki research on 2008. So effort to preserve the Javan eagle were carried out referring to the plan documents agreed upon by various stakeholders. The plan document was the Javan Recovery Plan. This is implemented in the early 2000s, followed by the Java Eagle Conservation Strategy and Action Plan for the 2013 and 2021 implementation period. So it is like as the end of the action plan, and soon in the few next week, we will have forum discussion, national meeting to discuss about the fate and then all of the update regarding the conservation of the Javan eagle that already conducted based on the species recovery plan. So actually the Java eagle species recovery plan was determined based on the regulation of the Ministry of Forestry and Republic Indonesia. So following all the struct that already agreed by various stakeholders, there is like a multiple release effort on the Javan hawk eagle has been conducted. So I put here like two that the most recent release program, one in Bromo Tengger Semeru in Tan National Park on August 2021, and also there is on June 2001 in it's the Javan hawk eagle was released in Mount Halimun Salak National Park by the Ministry of Environment and Forestry. So Javan hawk eagle has many attention from the researchers. So it's quite plenty of scholar article produced yielded from the observation on Javan hawk eagle. Here I present some of the article that published in between 2019 to 2020. So hopefully after this and the next few weeks meeting, we will have the current status of the national document of the Javan hawk eagle. So I would also like to present like one current project on Javan hawk eagle that is satellite tracking for Javan hawk eagle, which is lead to Ibu Syartinilia research project. It is a collaboration project of IPB University with Kyoto University and Bon Halimun Salak National Park. So on the 24th of January, that will be the two individual with the satellite tracking mounted will be released in Halimun Salak corridor. So after this, we hope we can understand about the dispersal ability of the juvenile Javan hawk eagle. So I will also like to present one like a new something that's about the update on their distribution. Previously, like initially, that the distribution of the Javan hawk eagle was confirmed as endemic in Java, but several records by many, like several bird watcher or photographer, wildlife photographer, has confirmed that the Javan hawk eagle also found or recorded in Bali Island. So there is just one note that the first publication by Mason on 2011 Nunkila said like they published like the 16th of July, his assistant Ibu Wayan Susumadi seen well the Javan hawk eagle in Bedugul Botanical Garden. But previously on October 1994, there is like a report saying that they found bird like the Javan hawk eagle in Klatakan in West Bali National Park. And then following that, like several observers found Elang Jawa, the Javan hawk eagle. On this, I put it like in the chronological order. So here, photo by Pak Rusman Budi Prasetya capture the mature Javan hawk eagle in Monsega. I think like most of some of us, the ARRCN member has already been there. So we visit the Monsega when the last symposium in Bali. So it's record on 2014, mature juvenile. And then after that, there is one abstract presented on the Conference of Indonesian Ornithologists Union in 2017, stating that found some occurrence with the Javan hawk eagle in Mon Lumpuyang, Karangasem, in Monsega, Karangasem, in Buyan Lake, and also in Botanical Garden as well, same with the one that seen by Ibu Sumadi. And also on 2016, there is a submitted photo, for the photo submitted found the juvenile juvenile Javan hawk eagle in Bedugul Botanical Garden. And this is the most recent photos, the juvenile Javan hawk eagle found in Monsega by Bapak Rohmat Setiadi. So after that, like if we look at the map of Bali, so there is like several like 4 region in Bali, in the mid of Bali, that where the Javan hawk eagle has been recorded. So this is raise a question for us. For example, the first is like all of the occurrence was happened during the migratory month. So whether the bird is actually come from Java and like come along with the migratory bird to Bali, or the bird is actually there, but because we just doing the extensive observation on the bird of prey is during the migratory month. So probably this is like the extra bonus for the observer, so they can find the bird. So there is like a bit of question that need to dig out further about the distribution of the Javan hawk eagle in Bali. So after that, I would like to present about our activity on migratory observation. So Indonesia is also an important area for migratory raptor species, in which they regularly visit Indonesia through their migration flyway. So the oriental honey buzzard and Chinese goshawk and Japanese sparrowhawk are among the common migratory raptor to Indonesia. Through this report, the annual monitoring activities conducted in Indonesia for the migratory raptor species will be presented. Species, number, planned events. Also, the published material yielded from the numerous raptor studies will also be presented in here. I've started our report on raptor migration from West Java region. So this is one that's usually led by Usep Suparman. So on 2021, doing the migratory watch, yeah. So there is one that that is reported, that oriental honey buzzard, and then Chinese goshawk and Japanese sparrowhawk. And then also observation conducted in other area of West Java region. It is in Paralayang Hill, Puncak Bogor, yeah, and then also in Pasir Malang Bandung in West Java as well. Then from the Central Java region, usually like this led by Bapak Dr. Karyadi Baskoro from Diponegoro University. There is some photos, activities of raptor migration with the students in there, and also with some other parties like doing the raptor migration watch in Central Java in region in Semarang. And then this is for Bali region. So this is from our visit to Monsega on 26th of October 2021. So we bring the student up to the mountain and then doing the observation, the record from the 10:30 to 40 EM, yeah, and then they are able to record like 300 Chinese sparrowhawk, 5 oriental honey buzzard, and 60 Japanese sparrowhawk, and 2 Peregrine Falcon they find during the watching. And there is this one data that we have actually from the 2019 on 2020 and 2021. Not many observations that we can do due to the limitation of activity due to the pandemic. So there is this one from our student already published, and then we can see the peak of the migration is occur in the 2nd week of October, and then 2nd to the 3rd week of October, and then for the individual found, the species found mostly they were Accipiter soloensis, and then the Pernis pitorhynchus, and then the Accipiter regularis, and also found a few of Falco peregrinus and a few of Circaetus gallicus. And then there's beside of doing the observation, direct observation on the field, we also make a webinar there is a positive thing also with the pandemic. So we being introduced to the webinar. So on the 2020,
you
yeah.
You only have 3 more minutes to finish up. Thanks.
Okay, but yeah, yeah. So on the 2020, Sir Alex Tionko and Sandes Burung and Dr. Chayan also share their experience to us during the international webinar on raptor migration. And then for the 2021, we also have the webinar. And there is some also observation from our colleagues in Lombok. There is 2 sites, in this Bukit Malimbu and then Pantai Nipah. And also there is some idea of the community involvement in raptor conservation. This is from Yayasan Konservasi Elang Indonesia. To raise awareness among the local community and then the children and the youth about the conservation. They introduced the children book and then the board game from Yayasan Konservasi Elang Indonesia, and also from our friends in Sumbawa, from Sindikat Photographer Wildlife 5. They also doing fundraising with the calendar. It aiming to make to initiate the Flores Hawk Eagle expedition that will be the distribution mapping and also produce the documentary movie of that. And this is last of the list, the biggest the biggest citizen science for bird conservation. Let's see, this is from the Atlas Burung Indonesia that include the massive volunteer involvement of like 545 contributors and 1,000 Birdwatcher Indonesia, and which is the data getting through the Burungnesia Android-based application. This was initiated in 2013, and then in this book, like 38 raptor species was described, which is almost half of the raptor species recorded in Indonesia, and also they record like 20 species of endemic raptor species. Also they present about the new records of the raptor species distribution. But later in the tomorrow, their team will present their presentation. I think we will can have a more information from them by later tomorrow. I think that's all for me. Thank you very much. So I will also introduce the output for from the symposium. This is one, the 11 ARRCN conservation symposium. We have one ESBN proceeding, and also we have one EOP conference series proceeding that can be accessed through this link. I think that's all for me at this moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eswanti, for that update on raptor research work in Indonesia. Interesting how the involvement of local community is so important to pass on the message of raptor conservation to the wider community. Unfortunately, we don't have any time for Q&A, but if anybody wants to ask anything, please contact either Eswanti or Pak Adam. Thank you. So we'll move on to the final country report, which is from Nepal. As neither of the authors, Tusi Ram Subedi and Sandesh Gurung, is available, we will be showing a pre-recorded report. So can the technical team please show us the pre-recorded report from Nepal? Thank you.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. Good morning,
hello.
everyone. I am Tulsi Subedi
Sorry,
from Nepal, and today I am presenting country report on the raptor research and conservation in Nepal. Nepal is a small mountainous country sandwiched between two giant countries, China and India. This country offers great geographical variation extending from 60 meters from the sea level to the 8,848 meters, which is the top of the Mount Everest. This country is home for 60 species of diurnal raptors. This constitute 19% of the world diurnal raptor species. This includes 18 species of eagles, 11 species of falcons, 9 species of vultures, and so on. Nepal is important landmark for the conservation of raptors because 20% of raptors found in Nepal are globally threatened and 47% raptors found in Nepal are nationally threatened. 7 out of 10 IVs in the world that support significant number of threatened raptor species occur in Nepal. This upper figure shows shows these IVs, and similarly 6 out of 10 IVs in the world with significant number of declining raptor species exist in Nepal. The lower diagram shows these IVAs. In this sense, we started raptor research and conservation activities in Nepal. Among them, I would like to discuss few of the projects. First one is raptor migration study. The raptor migration study was started from 2012 and this project is still going on. For the raptor migration study, we selected migration wash site, which is Thulakharka, lies in the central Nepal in the hilly region, which is to the south of Annapurna Himalaya range. During the raptor migration study, we counted 33 species of raptors during migration, including 7 globally threatened species and 3 near threatened species. Similarly, we counted additional 10 species of resident raptors in the raptor migration wash site, and also 8 of 9 species of vultures found in Nepal as well as South Asia are also found in the raptor migration. This figure shows the number of species over the years. We counted highest number of 33 species in 2013 and lowest number of 25 species in 2019. This fluctuation in species number is because we get different rare species of raptors, and among the different groups of raptor we get highest species of eagles. Here is the figure to show the population trend of two common migrant in our wash site. They are steppe eagle and Himalayan vulture. The population trend of steppe eagle is shown in this green line, which is very much declining over the count, while the population trend of Himalayan vulture is very much stable, which is shown by this blue line. In overall, the population trend of migrating raptor species is declining over the years, over 2012 to 2021 in Thulakharka wash site. In another study, we conducted movement study of two rarest eagle, mountain hawk eagle and Indian spotted eagle. We captured mountain hawk eagle and deployed satellite transmitter, and from this study we found that they move within a small home range area of 10 square kilometer and habitat. They use mainly forest and agriculture land habitat. Similarly, the Indian spotted eagle had 16.4 square kilometer of home range, and mostly their home range was inside the agriculture land and settlement area. We also monitor breeding of Indian spotted eagle and mountain hawk eagle using camera traps on their nest. This study is very important to record some of the important findings on breeding biology. This includes incubation period, hatching, predation, fledging period, and breeding diet. Here are some of the important dates we obtained from the breeding biology study of Indian spotted eagle nest, and we do not have enough data to show these dates from the study of mountain hawk eagle nest. So we are still planning to continue this type of study in the future. We also studied movement of Himalayan vulture using GPS transmitter. During their migration in 2019 December, we trapped 3 juvenile Himalayan vulture in Annapurna Himalaya range of Nepal here, and equipped with GPS transmitter, and one bird winter in lowland of Nepal in southern Nepal, and another bird winter in Madhya Pradesh of India here, and third bird winters in far western hilly region of Nepal and some parts of India in Uttarakhand. And after the completion of winter, all the birds returned back to China, and 2 birds they spent summer in Qinghai, China, and 1 bird spent summer in Tibet. From this study, we find some of important information like maximum daily distance travel, which was 306 kilometer, and maximum flight speed 91 kilometer per hour. And these birds cross a very high altitude over the Himalaya, which was 7,514 meters above the sea level. We are also conducting research on raptor electrocution, and power line is one of the growing threats to raptors in the world, and over 70 species of raptors are reported on power line related mortalities. In Nepal, a total of 605 circuit kilometer distribution line has been constructed between 2012 and 2012 July and 2021 June, and it is planned to complete another 2,952 circuit kilometer within this year, and it is purposed to construct another 3,000 circuit kilometer in next year. So this indicates the power line is growing rapidly. This is likely to increase the mortality to vultures, raptors, and other birds in Nepal. Collision or electrocution risk likely to increase in open area where natural perches are either absent or power lines run close to the natural perches. As such, if the power line is very close to the natural perch, there is high risk of collision. If there is absence of natural perch, it increases the risk of electrocution. In this picture, you can see the power line is running through the natural perch, and here on the ground you can see the dead Himalayan vulture due to collision with this power line. And in this picture you can see two Himalayan vultures, they are electrocuted over the power pole. We studied the electrocution risk to the raptors. We conducted systematic survey of 440 power poles and distribution line among them in different regions. Such as here in Lumbini, here Chitwan, here Kathmandu, this is Annapurna range here, and this is Pokhara Valley in 5 different regions of Nepal. During the survey, we checked 7-meter radius from the base of electric pole to record the carcass and feather remains of dead birds. And we also conducted opportunistic observation, and we included data from the GPS track individual. From the survey, we reported 70% of power poles were made up from metal and 30% made up from concrete. Cross-arm types in all the power poles were made up from metal, and we found 4 variations among the cross-arm types that are triangular type, here triangular type 52%, flat type of arrangement 40%, and mixed type of arrangement 4.2%, and vertical type of arrangement 3.5%. In our study, we reported 15 species of birds in electrocution and collision, including 8 species of raptors. In total, 58 casualties were reported, including 19 raptors. However, in the systematic survey, we reported only 6 raptors, indicating 1 raptor in every 71 poles. Another 10 raptors were recorded in opportunistic observation, and additional 3 were reported from GPS tracked study. While talking about the distribution of mortality, Pokhara Valley in Kaski district has the highest mortality rate with 1 raptor mortality in every 17 power poles. In the opportunistic observation, we recorded 10 individuals of 3 raptor species. Among them, 50% individuals were Himalayan vulture. Similarly, from the GPS tracked individuals, we reported 3 death cases belonging to mountain hawk eagle and bearded vulture that shows approximately 14% mortality rate. Apart from the research activities, we are conducting some of the conservation programs. The first priority is given to vulture species because there was huge loss of vulture in the Indian subcontinent. So to preserve the critically endangered white rum vulture, the government of Nepal has constructed Conservation Breeding Center, and that is the captive breeding center. And in 2008 and 9, we collected 30 pairs of white rump vulture from the wild. The collected birds, all the collected birds were juveniles. They were collected from nests and they were reared in the captive breeding center. And total of 18 chicks hatched in the breeding center. And between 2017 and 2021, we released some of the birds, like we released 39 birds. Some of them were captive hatched and some of them were captive rear. So currently there are 30 individuals of white rump vulture. They are still in the breeding center. While releasing the captive reared white rump vulture, we equipped them with GPS transmitter so that we could follow their movement and reach them as quickly as possible if any incident occur, so that we can rescue them. The captive reared birds mostly move within the lowland, western lowland of Nepal. You can see here in the map. However, some of the birds, they also moved in India and to the northwest in the mountainous region of Nepal. And also we equipped wild birds with the GPS transmitter to compare the movement. The wild birds, some of the wild birds, they moved westwards and reached up to Kashmir, traveling over 1,000 kilometer distance. Beside vulture conservation and breeding, we also conduct other conservation activities. These include vulture restaurants. There are in total 7 vulture restaurants exist in different parts of the country. These vulture restaurants are primarily in operation because to provide safe food for the vultures. As you know, diclofenac is one of the major causes of vulture decline. The residue of this drug enters into the vulture body after the consumption of dead livestock carcass shortly treated with the diclofenac. So in the vulture restaurants, we provide carcass which are safe from diclofenac and other chemical contaminants. Similarly, we organize training program to the farmers to reduce the use of pesticide, and also we conduct training and workshop and awareness program to veterinarians to reduce the use of harmful NSAID, including diclofenac and other NSAIDs which are known to lethal to vultures. We also conduct awareness programs to public. This includes street drama, education program to school, communities, grassroots level organization, and also art and essay competition in schools. Since last year, we started to construct artificial nest platform to rear species of raptors, including Indian spotted eagle. It is expected this will enhance the breeding success. In our previous study, we found nests of these birds were blown away by wind, so this affecting the population growth of the raptors. In last year, we constructed total of 15 artificial nest platform in various parts of country, including Lumbini, Kosi, and Dhanusa. Some of nests are already occupied by raptor species. Raptor conservation is never-ending job for us, so we plan to conduct different activities in the future. This includes monitor impact of power lines in raptor hotspots, retrofitting of most lethal power lines within important raptor areas, and recommend effective mitigation measures to power line companies and encourage them to implement proposed mitigation measures during the construction of project. And we also plan to work with the government authorities such as Environment Protection Unit under Nepal Electricity Authority for the policy intervention. And we also plan to educate farmers to reduce the use of pesticide in their field. We also planning to conduct camera trapping along the nest of different raptor species. We also plan to continue GPS tracking study of raptors. For example, mountain hawk eagle, Indian spotted eagle, bearded vulture, and Himalayan vulture. Already we have done some level of work on these species. So again, we plan to work on these species with larger sample size. And we are also planning to conduct education program to the communities, community people, grassroots level organization, schools, and college. At last of my presentation, I would like to acknowledge these many organizations for their support and encouragement to conduct raptor conservation and research activities in Nepal. And we would like to get their support in the future as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandesh, for that very impressive information about raptor conservation in Nepal. The impact of power lines on vultures seems to be very serious, and I think this is one aspect which is very important for the conservation of vultures. I will now open the floor to the audience to ask any questions to Sandesh. And Sandesh, I would also like to apologize for thinking that none of the authors was present to
Kim
present
Chai.
the presentation. Sorry?
Kim Chai, it was a pre-recorded presentation just now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I see. Sorry.
Tusi will join us in the afternoon.
All right. So if there's any questions, you can ask Tusi later on or just email. So I think with that, we've come to the end of the country report. So I'll now pass the thing back to the Secretariat, to Dr. Bon.
Okay, thank you very much, Kim Chai, for chairing the session. So we will now break for lunch. Lunchtime is 1.5 hours. So we will meet again at 2:30 p.m. Malaysian time. That is 1 hour and 30 minutes from now, approximately. So see you all later. Thank you very much.